I want to start from scratch again. So I've got my Ventoy stick here. If you don't know what Ventoy is, I can make a video about this later. It's a super cool tool that it's like a multi ISO booting image on a USB stick instead of making it just one ISO per USB stick. You install Ventoy on this stick and just load your ISOs into a folder, and then you can have all sorts of different ISOs on just one stick, which is pretty useful if you do lots of reinstalls. Okay, so we got that in now. I'll need to switch my keyboard. There we go. All right, let's fire it up, and I'll have to get into the boot menu to boot off of this. So we'll have to watch on the screen. Yeah, I know. You're complaining. It's taking a while to boot. Any indication? Start hitting delete. No? Oh, we got something up there. F12. F12 top right corner. Nope, I missed it. Okay. Shut it down again. That's the thing with the different computers and motherboards. They all have different buttons that do different things and different timings of how long it posts and whatnot. Let's give it another shot. All right, and we know it's F12. So let's start clicking right away. Okay, so it doesn't seem to recognize my input because it keeps on going into the ESXi bootloader. Okay, then it might be something with this USB port here. Okay, let's try the other one. Give it another shot. And just mash F12. Oh, there it goes. Aha. On the top right, you can see there. Recognize. It's preparing the one-time boot menu. Finally recognized. So something with that USB port wasn't quite working. And sometimes that happens. That not all USB ports get lit up right away. Or they act up on boot. But then once Windows loads, everything works better. All right, so temporary boot. We want to boot into this USB stick, which is the Kingston. And I will be reinstalling ESXi on this NVMe, the 512 gigabyte NVMe. So let's do enter, and it should load up into Ventoy. Here we go. Perfect. Okay, so here's the Ventoy screen. And you can see I have a whole bunch of ISOs loaded onto the USB stick. It is such a cool tool. It's a lifesaver if you have to reinstall Windows or VMware or Linux. You just have one USB stick with your ISO on there, and it's awesome. Anyways, we're gonna install VMware ESXi 8. We'll hit enter, and we want to boot in normal mode. And then the system is going to load its files. So we'll wait for that. Okay, so now we're at the welcome screen. There's just a little warning about installing this on VMware compatible devices or hardware. They have a whole list you can check out at that link of the hardware they recommend to run this on. They don't support the machine that I currently have it installed in or will be installing it on, but it still works fine. I haven't had any problems with it, so as long as you don't notice anything crashing or weirdness going on, hasn't been a problem for me, so I will just press continue. Okay, and we want to accept the terms and conditions. Now it's going to go and scan all the available storage on the computer. I unplugged the hard drives just to prevent confusion or accidental overwriting or using the wrong drive for the install. So I want to install it on this NVMe, the 512 gigabytes. So I will press enter. Okay, and since I've already had an install of VMware on here, it's gonna ask if I want to overwrite, if I want to upgrade. So I want to actually reinstall and overwrite. And spacebar. Okay, and we'll hit enter. US default works for me. Okay, so now we punch in a root password. And confirm. Just a warning to install, okay, on this drive, this disk will be repartitioned. All right, and we want to install F11. And we wait again. As an IT person, the amount of time that goes into just waiting for things to load or install sometimes crazy. That's why it's good if you have multiple things to do at once. You can have them all running at once, so you don't have to wait on one. But unfortunately, in this case, we're just waiting for this one install. All right, so that seemed to install it successfully. Okay, so now we want to remove the installation media. So I'm gonna pull out the USB drive, and then I'm gonna press enter. And we wait again. Okay, so this is the main page or main screen of ESXi 8.0.1. This will be, if you've used VMware before, this will be a very familiar screen. But what we want to do now is we want to go into customize system view logs. If you can see down here. So we want to press F2 and login name is root. Punch in my password. Okay, so in here we got a couple options. We can reset the password. We can configure a management network, which is where we can access this console from on the network. Ideally, you'd want to set up a management network on your, or a management subnet on your network. Oh yeah, it just grabbed an IPIPA address because it can't. I just have it sitting on my desk and it's not connected to the network, so it's just not picking up an IP address from my DHCP server. Okay, so we want to go in and configure the management network. I'm going to do it manually since I would like to set it statically. I don't want my DHCP server to give it some random address. I want this on a specific IP address on my management network. So I know it's always going to be there, no matter if there's a power outage or my network goes down. I know it's always going to be this one address, and I can always find it there. Okay, so let's go and configure the IPv4, and we want to set it static. All right, and we want to go with 20. Oh, my numlock is off. Let's try again. 10.21.99 And our subnet mask is going to be 255.255.255.0. Our default gateway is going to be .99.1. .1 will be my router. Okay, and then we're going to hit enter. And we'll need some DNS configuration in order for it to communicate to the internet. We'll want to set this statically as well. So we'll go down here, and I'm just going to use a public DNS server. So we could use 1.1.1.1 for the first one, and for the second one we could do 8.8.8.8. A host name, we'll call this ESXi, and press OK. And now we want to hit exit and press yes. Okay, so that just restarted the network. And now you can see on the right side here, we have a 10.21.99.2 address on this machine where we can get to our ESXi management portal. Also, if we go back into here, you can see all your network adapters. So I actually have an onboard NIC and another network PCI network card with 4 NICs in it. I'm just going to be using the onboard for the management part of it, and then I will actually assign one of these to a virtual machine on a different subnet. And speaking of subnet, so in here you also have the option to put a VLAN ID. So for my management network, if my VLAN ID is 99 because my subnet is 21.99, then I'd have to punch that in here to put it into the proper VLAN. For now, I'll just leave it like that. Okay, so now we're good to go. We can now leave this running, and we should be able to go to a browser from another computer and get to the ESXi console where we can set up the remaining system and get started with building VMs. Okay, so now we're on my computer. So if we have set up everything correctly, then we should be able to just open up a web browser. And one note, I actually had to change the IP address on the ESXi server because 99.2 is my switch. So that'll clash. That's never good in a network. So I went in and changed it to 99.3. So we'll go to 10.99, nope, 10.21.99.3. And boom, we've got a login page. So we'll just log in here. Welcome. All right. So that's the home page for ESXi 8. We can see our hardware information, Precision 3630 tower, 8 CPUs, Intel 9700, 47 gigs of RAM. I wish I had a little bit more RAM because the amount of RAM that you need per VM, 8 gigabytes is bare minimum, I would say, especially for Windows machines. 8 gigabytes is minimum. So if you have 2 or 3, that's already using up more than half of your memory. So I wish I had some more RAM in here. Maybe a future upgrade project. We can see our IP addresses, DNS servers, default gateway, which networks we are part of, our data store, and then yeah, just a general summary of what's being used for CPU, memory, storage. And if we look to the left side, this is where the action will be happening. So virtual machines tab, storage, and networking. So we'll go through each of these when we build our VM, and I will show you that in another video. We'll create the VM, install the OS, and configure it on the right subnet or on the right network, and that all has to be done within here. So if we go back up to the host page and go under manage, you have several options of managing certain things. So there's a ton of options under here. You can fine tune things. Auto start is a very useful option. This is for in case of a power outage. You can set your VMs to so ESXi will boot back up, and if you have auto start enabled on VMs, it'll start those VMs up automatically as it finishes booting up ESXi. And then time and date, advanced settings, we got a hardware list, we got licensing, packages, what's all installed, services, and security and users. Those are the settings that you can modify in here. And then you have a monitoring tab where you can do some basic monitoring, hardware monitoring, events, if you're getting errors, logs. Logs is a good way to find exactly what's happening if you're experiencing problems, troubleshooting. Good way to find out, get into the nitty-gritty of what exactly is happening. Other than that, I want to say congratulations if you followed along. You have just installed ESXi 8. If you use a different version, that's still awesome. You're running this now on your network, and we are now ready to install a virtual machine. I appreciate you stopping by, and I hope you learned a lot from this. I really enjoy working in ESXi. It's a mind-blowing concept. Having just one piece of hardware and running multiple operating systems doing different things is, when I learned this, my mind was just like poof, blown. Yeah, it is an amazing concept. And from a business perspective, this is a very important skill to have, because a lot of businesses will be running on one or maybe two or maybe three, depends on the size of the business, physical machines, physical hosts, and they'll have ESXi running or Hyper-V, and they'll be running their whole business off of virtual machines that are run on these on the ESXi hosts. So that's a very important skill to have, to get to know the virtual environment and how to configure it, install it, set it up, manage the VMs and all that. So very, very useful skill to have in the IT space. So I hope you enjoyed it and learned something from it. I hope to see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.